When a woman realizes you've lost interest, her reaction can reveal more about female psychology than months of behavior ever could. Women are wired to notice shifts in energy, attention, and emotional engagement. The moment you detach, subtly withdraw, or stop seeking validation, she begins to reassess her own feelings, priorities, and level of investment. This isn't manipulation, it's a natural psychological response. Understanding this reaction can give men a powerful perspective on attraction, desire, and the dynamics of emotional investment. Most men make the mistake of overcompensating when they sense a woman pulling away. They panic, chase, or try to prove themselves, which often accelerates loss of attraction. The truth is, when you demonstrate that your interest is no longer automatic, she begins to notice your value in a different light. Absence and emotional independence trigger curiosity, desire, and reflection. She starts asking herself why you seem less available, what she might be missing, and whether she truly wants to invest in someone who isn't constantly chasing her attention. In this video, you'll learn how women psychologically react when they perceive a man's diminished interest. We'll explore 7 reactions, ranging from emotional reflection to increased attention, testing behavior, and even attempts to regain your focus. Understanding these reactions gives men a strategic advantage, not to manipulate, but to observe, maintain composure, and respond with awareness. By the end, you'll understand how detachment affects female psychology, why she may suddenly act differently around you, and how to use this knowledge to maintain confidence, attract attention, and shift the dynamic so she values your presence more than ever. 1. She notices your distance. The first reaction a woman experiences when she realizes you've lost interest is awareness. She notices the distance. Women are highly sensitive to shifts in attention and emotional engagement. Even small changes in behavior, such as reduced texting, less initiation of plans, or calmer emotional energy, signal that something has changed. This isn't just conscious observation. Her mind immediately begins evaluating why you are no longer as available or attentive. She starts to replay your past interactions and compares them with the current state. The absence of neediness or constant pursuit is a stark contrast to what she may have experienced before. Women are wired to seek patterns, and when your behavior disrupts the usual dynamic, she takes notice. This shift triggers curiosity. She wonders what caused the change, whether she did something to push you away, or if you are now investing your attention elsewhere. This reflection is the first sign that her perception of your value is changing. It is no longer guaranteed. Your distance forces her to reconsider the dynamic. If she previously took your presence for granted, the reduced engagement immediately alters her evaluation. She begins asking herself questions like, "Does he care about me?" Or "Why is he different now?" This is where psychological tension begins to build, creating a natural pull. Your energy, now more independent and less reactive, starts signaling higher status, which inherently increases attraction. Interestingly, women may also begin to assess their own emotional investment. When you step back, they measure how much they miss your attention and presence. The mind registers the change as a loss, sparking introspection and, in many cases, a subconscious desire to regain your attention. This is particularly strong if you've already established respect, emotional connection, and attraction prior to the withdrawal. During this phase, your composure is critical. Any reaction that hints at desperation or neediness can undo the psychological tension you've created. Remaining calm, neutral, and self-focused allows the shift to work in your favor. She observes your independence without interference, which strengthens your perceived value. Your reduced interest also sets the stage for future reactions. By simply being less available and more selective with attention, you trigger curiosity and testing behavior. She begins evaluating whether she wants to invest more effort into you, which plants the seed for subsequent attraction. This first reaction, her noticing your distance, is subtle but powerful. It changes how she thinks about you, how she evaluates her feelings, and how she prioritizes your presence among other men. Understanding that women respond naturally to perceived withdrawal is crucial. It allows you to strategically maintain composure while letting psychological dynamics unfold. When she notices your distance, you're no longer just another man in her life. You become someone whose presence and attention require conscious effort to earn, which increases desire and focus. 2. She becomes curious. The second reaction a woman exhibits when she realizes you've lost interest is curiosity. Once she notices the shift in your attention or emotional energy, her mind naturally seeks to understand the reason behind it. Curiosity is a powerful psychological response. It drives her to analyze your behavior, replay past interactions, and imagine possible scenarios, often without her consciously realizing it. This curiosity is a sign that your absence or detachment is having a profound effect on her perception of you. When a man pulls back, even subtly, women begin to ask questions like, why is he acting different? Does he care less? Or, is there someone else? This mental loop creates a form of emotional engagement, even if she isn't directly interacting with you. The mind seeks patterns and explanations, and your distance disrupts her usual assumptions about your availability and interest. As a result, she starts paying closer attention to your words, actions, and energy, trying to decode what your reduced interest really means. Curiosity also triggers internal evaluation. She assesses how she feels about you in the absence of your constant attention. Women often underestimate the impact of a man who steps back strategically. By not reacting impulsively, you allow her to feel the emotional void your reduced engagement creates. She notices the difference between a man who is always available and one who maintains independence and composure. This contrast heightens her awareness of your value, making her wonder what she could lose if she doesn't act. Psychologically, curiosity increases attraction. When her mind is occupied thinking about you, analyzing your motives, recalling your positive traits, and imagining possible scenarios, she becomes emotionally invested without any direct effort on your part. The mental preoccupation that curiosity induces strengthens her connection to you, making her more likely to prioritize your presence over others. During this phase, subtle cues amplify the effect. If she sees you living your life fully, engaging with friends, pursuing goals, or expressing confidence, curiosity intensifies. She begins to question why you are emotionally composed and seemingly unaffected by her presence, creating a natural psychological pull. The more she observes your independence and calm energy, the more her mind begins to loop, imagining interactions and outcomes. It's important for a man to maintain consistency during this stage. Any sudden overcommunication or attempts to regain attention prematurely can break the curiosity loop, replacing it with predictability or neediness. The key is to remain steady, demonstrating value through your actions, presence, and self-mastery, rather than words or pleading. Curiosity leads to heightened awareness of your unique qualities. Women start remembering why they were initially drawn to you and begin re-evaluating their level of interest. The mental engagement this generates often creates anticipation for future interactions and emotional investment, even if she initially appeared indifferent. By understanding that curiosity is a natural reaction to perceived attachment, you can leverage your composure and presence to increase desire. She becomes emotionally and mentally invested, thinking about you more often, questioning her feelings, and evaluating her priorities. This phase sets the stage for deeper reactions that strengthen attraction, engagement, and the likelihood that she will ultimately seek your attention. 3. she tests you. The third reaction a woman exhibits when she realizes you've lost interest is testing. Women instinctively gauge whether a man's energy, value, and attention are consistent and reliable. When she notices a change in your behavior, less chasing, more independence, her subconscious mind triggers a series of tests. These tests are designed to determine if your withdrawal is genuine, whether you are still confident, and how much effort she might need to regain your attention. Understanding and responding appropriately to these tests is critical in maintaining your perceived value and strengthening attraction. Testing can manifest in subtle ways. She might increase communication, act flirtatious, or create scenarios that provoke emotional reactions. This is not necessarily conscious. Women are wired to observe responses to shifts in attention. For example, she may tease, challenge, or question your commitment in order to see if you will react with desperation or remain composed. How you respond signals your value. Calm, confident responses reinforce respect and attraction, while reactive or needy behavior diminishes it. Another form of testing involves observation of your lifestyle and independence. She may inquire indirectly about your activities, social life, or interactions with others. Women are assessing whether you are truly invested in yourself or if your withdrawal is temporary. By maintaining your composure and continuing to live a fulfilling life, you pass this test effortlessly. Your confidence and consistency send a clear message that your value is not contingent on her reactions. Emotional tests are common. She may attempt to elicit jealousy, provoke concern, or subtly challenge your composure. These tests are natural. They measure your stability, self-respect, and ability to handle emotional dynamics. Responding with stoic calm rather than panic shows that you are high value and independent. Emotional control reinforces attraction and communicates that your energy and attention are selective, making her more inclined to invest genuinely. Testing can also involve seeking reassurance or validation. A woman may comment on your feelings, ask about your interest, or push for clarity about your intentions. This is an opportunity to demonstrate consistency without overcommitting. Your responses should be measured, confident, and aligned with your boundaries. By not reacting with desperation or defensiveness, you maintain the psychological pull and signal that your attention is earned. It's important to recognize that tests are not manipulative in a negative sense. They are natural behaviors that indicate she cares and is evaluating her options. Men who understand this dynamic can navigate it with composure, turning tests into opportunities to reinforce attraction and value. By staying grounded, confident, and emotionally stable, you not only pass her tests, but also enhance her desire and respect for you. Ultimately, how you handle her tests determines whether her curiosity and awareness evolve into genuine investment. Consistent confidence, independence, and measured responses make you appear irreplaceable, compelling her to value your presence more than before. She begins to reassess her feelings and priorities, recognizing that your energy is limited and your attention is worth earning. This phase is pivotal. Passing her tests strengthens attraction, builds desire, and positions you as the man she chooses to engage with voluntarily. 4. She reevaluates her feelings. The fourth reaction a woman exhibits when she realizes you've lost interest is reevaluation. Once she notices your distance, experiences curiosity, and tests you, her mind begins a deeper assessment of her own emotions. She reflects on her feelings, her priorities, and the value you bring into her life. This stage is where attraction and investment are either strengthened or diminished, depending on how you've carried yourself. Understanding this psychological process is key to maintaining control of the dynamic and enhancing your desirability. During reevaluation, she compares her emotional state when you were fully engaged to her feelings now. Your calm withdrawal forces her to ask herself important questions. Do I miss his presence? How does it feel when he's not around? And what does he bring into my life that others cannot? These reflections make her consciously and subconsciously weigh your significance. The mere fact that your attention is no longer guaranteed triggers a psychological contrast that highlights your value. This stage often sparks introspection about her investment. She begins to consider what she's been giving emotionally, mentally, and sometimes physically, versus what she's receiving. A woman who previously took your attention for granted now recognizes the balance or imbalance between her efforts and your engagement. She notices your confidence, independence, and composed energy, which weren't as apparent when you were constantly pursuing her. This contrast forces her to reevaluate not only her interest, but also her priorities regarding other options. Reevaluation can manifest in changes in behavior. She may become more attentive, subtly try to reconnect, or mirror your energy to gauge your reaction. Some women increase social interactions, show more care, or test boundaries to see if you respond. These actions indicate that she is reassessing her feelings and considering how much she values your presence in her life. Men who understand this phase can navigate it without overreacting, preserving attraction while reinforcing psychological pull. Emotional reevaluation is influenced by the experiences and connections you've already built. If you've demonstrated respect, emotional depth, and compelling presence, she is more likely to prioritize you over others. She begins to associate your absence with a sense of loss, which naturally triggers desire and mental focus on you. The psychological principle at work is scarcity. When something valuable is perceived as less available, its worth increases. Your composed withdrawal amplifies this effect. It's important for men to remain consistent and confident during this phase. Any sign of panic, neediness, or overcommunication can undo the psychological momentum you've created. Instead, maintain your independence, continue living your life fully, and allow her reflections to take place naturally. By staying steady, you reinforce your value and create a magnetic dynamic where she becomes more aware of what she stands to lose. Ultimately, reevaluation shifts her mental and emotional state. She begins to weigh her desire, assess her emotional investment, and recognize your unique qualities. This introspection often results in renewed interest, deeper attachment, and a stronger inclination to seek your attention. By understanding and allowing this psychological process to unfold, you position yourself as the man she genuinely wants, naturally prioritizing your presence over others. 5. She seeks attention. The fifth reaction a woman exhibits when she realizes you've lost interest is actively seeking attention. After noticing your distance, becoming curious, testing you, and reevaluating her feelings, she often begins to try and regain your focus. This stage is a direct psychological response to the scarcity you've created by reducing emotional availability. Her behavior signals increased interest and recognition of your value, even if she doesn't consciously articulate it. Attention-seeking can take multiple forms. She might text or call more frequently, engage in playful or flirtatious conversation, or show up in social settings where she knows you'll notice her. These actions are a subconscious attempt to gauge your reaction and determine if your interest can be regained. The underlying principle is simple. Your detachment triggers her mind to reassess her priority of you, creating mental loops where she is constantly thinking about your presence and attention. She may also use subtle cues to capture your focus. Changes in appearance, body language, or behavior can be intentional or instinctive. For instance, she may dress differently, laugh more at your jokes, or mirror your movements to increase rapport and elicit a response. These behaviors are designed to remind you of her attractiveness and emotional availability without being overtly demanding. Women intuitively respond to the perception of scarcity by amplifying signals that encourage engagement. Attention-seeking is often paired with testing behaviors. She may provoke jealousy, create scenarios to assess your reaction, or playfully challenge your composure. This combination allows her to evaluate whether you remain confident, independent, and high value despite her attempts to capture your focus. How you respond to these cues is crucial. Overreacting or seeking validation diminishes attraction, while calm, confident acknowledgement reinforces your desirability and control over the dynamic. Emotional intelligence plays a critical role here. Recognizing her attention-seeking behaviors without becoming emotionally reactive gives you the upper hand. By maintaining composure, engaging selectively, and showing measured interest, you heighten her perception of your value. Women are drawn to men who are high status not because of external indicators alone, but because they demonstrate self-sufficiency, emotional stability, and selective engagement. Social dynamics also influence attention-seeking. She may increase visibility within shared social circles, post content that signals her interest indirectly, or ensure mutual friends are aware of her presence. These behaviors are part of an unconscious strategy to trigger curiosity and evaluation, subtly reminding you of her relevance while allowing her to maintain dignity. Ultimately, when a woman begins to seek attention, it confirms that your loss of interest has affected her psychologically. She becomes more aware of your value, more focused on your presence, and increasingly motivated to secure a connection. The key for men is to respond with controlled engagement, ensuring that attention is reciprocated selectively and reinforcing attraction. By allowing this dynamic to unfold naturally, you solidify your position as a desirable, independent, and high-value figure in her mind, strengthening her desire and commitment to you. 6. She shows vulnerability. The sixth reaction a woman exhibits when she realizes you've lost interest is vulnerability. After noticing your distance, becoming curious, testing you, re-evaluating her feelings, and seeking attention, she may begin to open up emotionally. Vulnerability is a natural response to the perceived loss of a man's attention or interest, as she seeks reassurance, emotional connection, and validation of your significance in her life. This stage is crucial because it indicates she is emotionally invested and begins to prioritize you in ways that are more intimate and sincere. Vulnerability can manifest in several ways. She might share personal stories, insecurities, or past experiences she hasn't revealed before. These disclosures are designed to create a deeper emotional bond, allowing her to re-establish closeness while gauging your response. By opening up, she signals trust and a willingness to invest emotionally. Men who respond with empathy, attentiveness, and calm confidence reinforce attraction, making their presence even more valuable in her mind. Emotional signals are subtle but powerful. She may display softer behaviors such as seeking comfort, making indirect requests for reassurance, or expressing doubt about the connection. These cues indicate that she recognizes your autonomy and is attempting to bridge the emotional gap. Your reaction is critical. Responding with composure, selective engagement, and appreciation for her openness strengthens the bond while maintaining your high-value energy. Overreacting or displaying neediness undermines the effect, as it diminishes the psychological tension that initially drew her attention. Vulnerability also creates opportunity for deeper emotional attachment. When she shares her feelings or fears, it activates empathy and investment in your mind as well. A man who balances attentiveness with independence becomes a psychological anchor, a figure she both trusts and desires. This combination of emotional openness and composure creates a magnetic pull that solidifies her preference for your presence. Nonverbal cues enhance the impact of vulnerability. Eye contact, gentle gestures, and patient listening communicate engagement and validation without overcommitting. Women register these signals subconsciously, which strengthens her attachment and motivates her to invest further in the connection. By maintaining emotional balance, you position yourself as both desirable and safe, someone she wants to prioritize. Social and behavioral cues may also indicate vulnerability. She might subtly seek your approval, ask questions about your feelings, or test your reactions in low-stakes situations. These behaviors are her way of assessing whether you remain independent, confident, and high value, even as she opens up. Your ability to respond thoughtfully while maintaining composure reinforces your irreplaceability. Ultimately, when a woman shows vulnerability, it is a strong signal that your withdrawal has heightened her emotional investment. She begins to prioritize your presence, consider her feelings more deeply, and act in ways that align with her desire to reconnect. By responding with understanding, selective attention, and confidence, you solidify the psychological dynamic, making her feel drawn to you emotionally while reinforcing your high-value presence. Vulnerability marks the stage where attraction and emotional investment converge, creating a natural pathway for her to prioritize and pursue you. 7. She prioritizes you. The seventh and final reaction a woman exhibits when she realizes you've lost interest is prioritization. After noticing your distance, experiencing curiosity, testing you, reevaluating her feelings, seeking attention, and showing vulnerability, she begins to consciously or subconsciously make you a priority in her life. This stage represents the culmination of psychological dynamics triggered by your withdrawal and measured independence, where she actively adjusts her behavior to reflect your increased value in her mind. Prioritization manifests in both attention and behavior. She may initiate plans, communicate more frequently, or demonstrate interest in your life and opinions. Her actions reflect a conscious decision to focus on you over other options, signaling that your presence, energy, and engagement now carry significant weight in her perception. The psychological principle at play is scarcity combined with high value. When she realizes your attention is not automatic, she instinctively recognizes it as something worth earning and protecting. She may also adjust her emotional and social behaviors to align with your preferences. Women often modify how they present themselves, the topics they engage in, or the way they interact with others to capture your focus and reinforce connection. This is not manipulation. It's a natural response to perceived loss of interest, where she begins to actively invest in securing your attention and maintaining closeness. Men who maintain composure while observing these changes strengthen attraction and reinforce their high-value presence. At this stage, subtle cues become extremely important. She may demonstrate care, empathy, or attentiveness that she hadn't previously displayed. Her tone, body language, and availability may shift to show that she recognizes your value. If you respond selectively and with confidence, her prioritization deepens. She begins to think of you as irreplaceable, someone whose attention, energy, and presence are highly desirable and worth committing to. Consistency remains key. While she increases her investment, your composed independence signals that your attention is earned and not automatically given. This balance between availability and detachment ensures that she values your presence without undermining the psychological tension you've created. Women naturally gravitate toward men who maintain this equilibrium, prioritizing them even when other options exist. Prioritization also extends to her decision-making. She may choose to spend more time with you, align her schedule around your availability, or make efforts to engage meaningfully in your life. This reflects a shift in her mental and emotional evaluation. She now sees you as central to her happiness, security, and fulfillment, reinforcing your position as a high-value figure in her life. Ultimately, when a woman prioritizes you, it is the result of a series of natural psychological reactions initiated by your withdrawal, independence, and composure. She has moved from awareness to curiosity, testing, emotional reflection, seeking attention, vulnerability, and finally, conscious prioritization. By maintaining confidence, composure, and selective engagement throughout these stages, you position yourself as someone she values, desires, and actively chooses above others. Prioritization marks the peak of attraction and investment. She now seeks your presence, considers your needs, and values your attention more than before. This final stage confirms that the dynamic you've cultivated through measured detachment, emotional intelligence, and high-value behavior has successfully shifted the balance, making you the man she chooses to engage with, respect, and prioritize consistently. When a woman realizes you've lost interest, the way she reacts reveals the underlying mechanics of female psychology. The process begins with her noticing your distance, which sparks curiosity and reflection. She may test your composure, reevaluate her feelings, seek your attention, and eventually show vulnerability. Each stage is a natural response to the psychological principle of scarcity. When something valuable is less available, it automatically becomes more desirable. Understanding these reactions allows men to navigate relationships with awareness, confidence, and control. The key is to remain composed, independent, and self-assured throughout the process. Overreacting, chasing, or seeking validation undermines attraction and shifts the dynamic in her favor. Instead, measured withdrawal, emotional balance, and selective engagement increase your value, compelling her to invest emotionally, mentally, and socially. Women respond powerfully to men who combine confidence, emotional intelligence, and independence, qualities that are immediately noticeable when you step back strategically. By recognizing the patterns of attention-seeking, vulnerability, and eventual prioritization, you gain insight into how women think and feel when a man appears less interested. This knowledge allows you to maintain high-value behavior while encouraging her to reassess her investment. She begins to think about you more, desire you more, and ultimately make you a priority. In essence, losing interest strategically is not about manipulation. It is about creating space for her to recognize your value, for desire to grow naturally, and for attraction to deepen. When applied correctly, this approach transforms her perception, making her actively choose and invest in you while reinforcing your high-value presence in her life.